Welcome to Matter of Action. I'm Wayne Morrow, and along with me today is Bill Hahn, our
Hey, welcome,
Vice
Wayne.
President of Strategic. I just wanted to, first of all, say thanks, Bill. And the topic is about the USMCA.
USMCA, all the way, baby.
I'm telling you, it's it was a real disappointment to find out on December 19th, the House as well as the Senate passed us.
Exactly.
In my travels, I spoke to some representatives and our members and who speak to our legislators, and most of them said they've never read it, but yet they got along with the president. We've written a lot about the USMCA and its dangers, and it's an end run around the constitutions that we've written about. And I just want to get your opinion on now what? Now what do we do as we're the truth tellers about the USMCA? I consider perhaps an opportunity, since the focus is off of passing it, to now maybe people are going to listen to the truth. But what do you think?
I think you're 100% correct. Let me just jump back real quick and ask you kind of a riddle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, plays right in with the USMCA. How do you pass a globalist plan to integrate and merge a continent through a Democratic House, Republican Senate, and an America First president?
Mm-hmm.
You disguise it as free trade.
Oh, it's called deception.
Yes, exactly, and that's
what it
exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at how world government is created, and USMCA plays right into it.
Right.
We've got top down and bottom up basically are the two ways.
Mm-hmm.
Top down is the United Nations. All right. Well, what happened in '58 is the John Birch Society came along, and founder Robert Welch saw the dangers of all of this. And through an expose out there regarding the UN, and actually turned public opinion so that it's unfavorable to it, right?
Yep.
Well, the folks at the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, the globalist group, said, okay, well, if we can't pass it top down, we're going to do bottoms up. Mm-hmm. So let me just read you a quick quote here from a gentleman by the name of Richard Gardner, who wrote an article called "The Hard Road to World Order," and we've heard this one 100 times. So let me just quickly zip through it. He says, in short, and this was published in the CFR magazine, Foreign Affairs, the House of World Order will have to be built from the bottom up rather than the top down. Mm-hmm. It will look like a great booming, buzzing confusion, to use William James's famous description of reality, but an end run around national sovereignty. Yep. Gee, you just said that, didn't you? Yep. Eroding it piece by piece will accomplish much more than the old-fashioned frontal assault.
Right.
And as you eloquently said just a little bit ago, time factor is off, right? This thing is passed. Mm-hmm. So now we need to basically educate folks on the fact that, sure, we have to get out of the USMCA, but there's no appetite in Congress for that right now.
Right.
So we need to educate the electorate to let them know that, hey, this is all part of a grand plan, right?
Absolutely.
So
it is. It's a grand plan.
Yes, exactly.
If you look through some of the things like the law of the sea, which has been trying to pass forever, and we talk about building the wall. That's always a problem. Build the wall. But if you look through this thing, about the protection of migrant workers, who really needs the wall? It's totally irrelevant.
That's right.
Right to work, it's a joke. Mm-hmm. So what I see, and where we come in, is that even people I see who are non-members, but legislators, haven't read this thing. And it's, a couple thousand pages. And, the question is now how we then take this beast of thousands of pages and put them in bite sizes to convince our members and our prospects and our legislators to tell them here's the ills of the USMCA.
That's right.
And it is nice to know we got some momentum with BREXIT because they waved goodbye.
Big time, yep.
And so to me, that's a really good sign heading in the right direction. So we sort of got to walk that line as well. That's what I see anyway.
Where we start, that bite-sized chunk, you have to start with the Free Trade Commission.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because that's the European Commission was what had driven all of the legislation out of the European Parliament, and then basically pushed it onto the rest of the countries of the EU, to the tune of the fact that Britain just had enough. They just said, we're done with this.
Mm-hmm.
And they finally had, enough foresight to actually get enough people to, get together and with Nigel Farage, leading the UKIP, the United Kingdom, what was it, Independence Party at one point, and then finally BREXIT party, and now he's going to be creating a think tank, that's going to be watching over this, even more closely. But the fact of the matter is, all of this emanates, from unaccountable, unelected international bureaucracy.
Right. That's right.
And that is exactly what that Free Trade Commission is going to turn out to be. So we need to watch that very closely and then expose that when things start to happen with that. And so it's not going to happen anytime soon. But, once that is implemented, we'll have to watch that very, very carefully.
So what kind of things are we going to do on the John Birch Society side to watch that and educate not only our members but our electorate and our elected officials on those things you said to watch them. So what are some of the things that we've got maybe and strategy-wise is the plan to do that?
So strategy-wise, we've got a great research team, and they will be watching that awfully close to see exactly what the Free Trade Commission will be doing, because as the USMCA clearly states, there's at least 19 committees under there.
Yeah, I saw that.
That are going to be handling a lot of different responsibilities that obviously have never been delegated to even Congress, let alone an international body. So we're going to be looking at that. We've got tools that we're going to crank out based off of that.
Okay.
And then of course we're also looking at other areas of where this free trade agreements can possibly pull in these international factors. So just for instance, we just saw, as you mentioned, the UK get out of the EU. Well, now they're pretty ripe for a free trade agreement. Okay. Well, so is the EU with the U.S. And when Trump initially got in, it was TPP and get out of it, right?
Right.
Well, we didn't stop TTIP, which is the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. And so that one may roll around again, because that will be, or could be, a partnership between the EU and the U.S. So we got to be very careful about that. We may actually see the beginnings of what's called an Atlantic Union.
Yes.
At that point.
I know we've been talking about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you look at, so we'll be focused on the Atlantic Union. We'll be focused on what what the USMCA will probably create, which is the North American Union.
Yep.
And we battled that a number of years ago.
Right.
And all we need, is the strong evidence when it starts to happen. So.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Two Republican representatives, Ted Yoho and Tom Massey, voted against this. And feedback I get back, the reason for it, because they actually read it.
Perfect.
And they saw that we're losing our sovereignty. And the balance of them just voted because it was the easiest thing to do to stay along with the president, Yep. So I think the interesting thing that I learned is that when people really understand what's there, is that they'll go against it. I just think they're ignorant to know what's really there. It was expedient just to go along with it.
Exactly.
So the opportunity for us as the truth tellers to tell really what's behind, what's in the covers of a couple thousand pages, is basically selling out our country. That's basically what it is.
That's right.
And you're right, Bill. NAU is the next step, And so I think with the momentum is now it's passed, now the task at hand is to really educate the voting electorate really what it is. That's what I think our next step could be.
That's
it
what
should
we do
be,
best, right?
What we do best.
Yep.
So it's not ending. The battle goes on, right?
Exactly.
It's business as usual.
Yep.
But unfortunately, for getting votes, they decide to pass it, and it all looks good as they look for re-election.
But we have a great opportunity right now in between now and November to actually get out as much information as we can.
That's
so
right.
we can certainly go back to what works best, and that's Birch.
Right. Thank you. Well, thanks, Bill. Remember, just got to keep on birching, but more importantly, we have to tell the truth. And you can find this information, our resources, on jbs.org, or you can call 800-JBS-USA1. Bill, thanks. On we go, telling truth. And I'm really excited about the new tools we're going to have to really divulge and show what truth really is and what this error in this USMCA is.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thanks.